everyone, and I hope and pray that all is well. Mostly we entertain theological and religious talks and discussions, but this afternoon we are looking at something very different. We are looking at to rent or to own a home. I strongly believe that God created us to live in this world, not only to serve Him in poverty or in pain, but God had an aim of us living a life which is fulfilled. And one of the most fulfilling things about living is homes, or is shelter, or what some people call housing. Housing is one of the most important detail of any human being. So I know all of us listening and watching, we consider housing to be a very important element of our lives. Actually, from my experience in financial consultancy, I've discovered that a home, those who have wealth and property, homes contribute to at least a quarter of their wealth. If someone has any form of wealth or equity, when you sum up all the equity they have, all the wealth they have in this entire world, homes carry not less than 25% of what they own. That means that homes are very, very important to who we are, and they're very important to our livelihoods. Now, in this talk is mainly to do with financial intelligence and financial literacy about housing. So many people tend to think, or we grew up knowing that for you to be a man, or for you to be an important person in society, you must have a home. Actually, when you're going through the education system and when you're growing up, one of the signs of maturity is owning a home. In my culture, the Chiganda culture, we have a saying that akezimbira tekabakato, that he who can build themselves a home is mature enough. So maturity in the Chiganda culture was gauged on home ownership. So what we're going to look at today is it financially feasible, or is it advisable for everyone who has become a mature human being to own a home or to build a home? Is it feasible? Is it important? Is it the way to go? I'm going to state from the beginning that home ownership or building a home is good, but only good for a certain category of people. It's not good for everyone. Yes. And I will state that renting a place to live in, or renting a shelter, renting a one-bedroom house, renting a studio apartment, renting a two-bedroom house, renting a three-bedroom house, renting a home is what should be sought out by most of us. 90% of human beings living today do not have a right to own homes or to build homes. I'll also state that most of us living today, I'll state it in my mother tongue, kyabuwemu okulowooza nti nno otandise okukola, wakatandika okukola, bw'otandise okukola ofune poloti ozimbemu ennyumba. It's very, very obscene for you to think of a home as a first priority in your working way. Mu y'ebyenfuna si kyabwemu mu buwemu nga tubumanyi, but in the financial world, when you're making financial decisions, these decisions are supposed to be based on efficiency. Efficiency means that whatever decision you're making is going to give you the quality you want in the shortest period of time and at the lowest price. That's efficiency. That's what we go for in financial management. You should get whatever you want to get at the best quality, at the lowest price, and in the shortest period of time. So when it comes to housing, the best way to achieve that efficiency is by you and me renting in the first place. Many people think that renting is a way of wasting money, which you should have saved and bought a plot of land, or maybe bought a plot of land and built a house. But I'm going to dispel such beliefs. Those beliefs are actually one of the reasons why many people are held up in the cycle of poverty. Because building a home is one way of keeping yourself poor. If you're still in the working class, or if you're still in the lower class of the poor, trying to build a home will keep you there. And building homes should be a reserve for people who have gotten to financial independence or who are way high on the route to reaching financial independence. I'm going to show you the disadvantages or the reasons why you should not think of building a home in your early stages of your work life or in trying to grow yourself financially. In those early stages, you shouldn't think of building a home. And these are the reasons why. One, building a home means that you are going to, many times people who build homes, they build these homes in places which are far away from where they work. Why? Because many times you're going to get a plot of land which is cheap or which you can afford. Another plot of land which you can afford is maybe 30 or 40 kilometers from where you work. Many times you work in the suburbia or in suburban areas or in the urban areas. So the plots in those areas can be afforded by people in the middle class or the rich. So, and most of us are not in the middle class, and neither are we among the rich. 48% of Ugandans are poor, are below the poverty line. Then another 40% of Ugandans are working class. That is, they are struggling. They live from hand to mouth. If they don't work, they cannot eat. Then the other, we have another smaller percentage, which is made of the middle class, which is a small middle class, and then we have the wealthy, which is less than 1% of Ugandans. Now, it's only the wealthy and the upper middle class who can dream of building homes. The rest of us can only afford plots of land which are far away from the urban centers. And those plots of land being far away from the urban centers, if you ever build a house in that plot of land, that means that wherever you work from is far away from where you're living. So you're going to make your cost of living very expensive because you are building a home for yourself. Actually, most social amenities which you want to access are in the suburbia or in the urban areas, in towns, in cities. Yet your home is built very far away because that's the plot you could afford. So the first reason why you should not build at that stage of your life is because you can only afford to build a home very far away from where you stay. And when you go ahead to build a home where you can afford, you won't be able to access the amenities and your workplace. The second reason why you shouldn't build now, when you're still in the working class or lower middle class, or when you're still poor, you shouldn't build at that stage of your life, because homes, when built and owned, many times when we build them, we think that we love them the same way that we will love them 10 years or 20 years from now. But homes, like anything else in life, we grow weary of them over time. I have a friend I was talking to last month, and this gentleman built his home 8 years ago. He loved this home, and this home is quite expensive. It's in the ranges of about 120 million Uganda shillings currently. The home alone minus the plot of land. The gentleman told me that he's tired of his home and he wants to build a modern home. wants to build a home of about 200 millions because he's tired of the other home. Now, his problem is that he cannot find someone to buy the old home at the going price. He's tired of the home which he built at 120 millions 8 years ago, but he can't find someone to give him the value, the current value of the home. He's tired of the home, he's tired of the location. So, building a home means that you are tied to a property, to an asset, which you cannot dispose of very quickly. Building a home ties you down to a particular location. Yet someone who has rented a place can easily just decide to move in a month's time. You just give in a 1 month notice and then you move to the new location you want to go. Actually, on this very note, I know very many wealthy people who do not build homes for that very reason. Because whenever they're tired of a certain location, they can easily move to another location if it's rented. So, you shouldn't be very quick to build homes, because many times you get weary of those homes, you get tired of those homes, and you can't sell them off as easily as you wished. Then I'll go to the most important reason why you should not build a home when you're still poor, when you're still in the working class, or when you're still in the lower middle class. And that reason is tying up equity. The worst thing that can ever happen to a poor person or to a working class person is tying up equity. Equity or capital is what you need to grow yourself from your level to where you want to be. Most of us grow up dreaming of the best lives you can ever live. No one grows up dreaming of becoming a working class person or a mediocre middle class person. All of us grow up wanting to become rich. I remember when I was young, I wanted to become a pilot, I wanted to marry Musungu, I wanted to live in a mansion, and every kid grows up dreaming that. So, those dreams cannot be realized when, at the point when you start your working life, you invest all your capital in a home. A home, building a home or buying a home is sinking capital. Actually, building a home is better than even buying a home, because many times when you buy homes, you buy a home at a markup of 50%. What I'm talking about is that many times when you buy a home and the plot of land where it's seated, costing, which would have cost you maybe 150 millions, if you come to sell it off to someone else, they will have to buy it at 200 or 250 millions. The margins are so high. Yeah, because the profit the person selling a home makes is quite high compared to you buying your own, building your own home. So even owning a home which is bought is even a worse financial decision than even building your own home. But the better decision, I'm telling you, is renting a home. Why? Because whenever you rent a home, you are not tying up your capital. When you are starting out in life, especially in the 20s, if you don't rush to build homes, you can use that money you'd have used to buy a plot. For example, I live in Chira municipality, and the cheapest plot I think in Chira municipality would go for maybe about 50 million Ghana shillings. Now, 50 million Ghana shillings, sinking that money into buying a plot, then building a 3-bedroom house, a modest 3-bedroom house will cost you about 100 million Ghana shillings. A modest 3-bedroom house on a 50-foot by 100-foot plot of 50 millions. So 50 millions for the plot plus 100 millions for the house. 150 millions. Now, the 150 millions is a lot of money for an individual starting out in the 20s. That amount of money can be invested in any venture, and that amount of money can give you profits in the subsequent years, in the medium term, for you to build yourself a home. Now, what many youth do nowadays, the moment they start working, they get on the property ladder. They first buy, of course, a small car, which is a fuel guzzler. Then the next amount of money they get, the first 20 millions they get, they buy a car. The next 50 millions they buy a plot, and then the next 100 millions they save, and then they build a home. Now, if I were this young man, I would get this 150 millions, and I would invest that money in any venture. Now, today we're not talking about investments. There are many ventures in which you can put 150 millions, and those ventures will kick off. even if they are known to high risk ventures and they are giving you low profits, but then they'll give you enough money for you to survive and then to build a house at a later stage in life than you getting that money and sinking into the house. A house actually is a sunk cost. And some financial gurus have gone on to say that houses are actually not assets. Houses are liabilities to them. Why? Because a liability is something which drives value away from you. Yet an asset is something which brings value to you. Now, a house, many times especially when you are still getting up on in your financial life, a house is a liability in that it's going to milk you more than a rental property will milk you. The utility costs of a home which you own are usually higher than a house which you rent. When you're paying electricity and water rates are usually higher in a house which you own. Why? Because usually a house you own is usually bigger than a house you rent. So it's going to consume more electricity, it's going to consume more water. And many times in a house which you own, you attract more people. You attract more relatives to stay with you. You attract people who wouldn't have come to you in a rented property. So you find yourself spending more because you're having a home at an early stage in your life. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a home at all. No. You can have a home at a later stage in your life when you're financially independent or when you're getting closer to financial independence in life. When you can afford it. Many of us build homes when you can afford it. And then the amounts of money we pay maintaining these homes are even coming closer to the amount of money we are spending on rent. Let me give you another example. You find that if you add up the amount of money you pay your askari, the amount of money you pay the shamba boy, the amount of money you pay the lawn maintainer, the amount of money you pay the garbage collector, the amount of money you pay you pay for the utilities I've talked about, and the additional people who have come into your home, the amount of money you spend on them. When you add up all those amounts, you find that those amounts of money are higher than the rent.
And depending on location, the cost of fuel.
Yeah. The cost of fuel, if you built your house far away from where you're working, the cost of fuel is going to be high. So when you add up all that amount of money you're spending in your own home, you find that it's equal to the amount of money you're going to pay for rent. Because when you're in a rented property, personally, I'm a landlord. I have tenants, and then I have to pay for their lawn maintenance. The guy who slashes is paid by me. I do the garbage handling. I pay the company which collects garbage every week. I pay my askaris. I have 2 askaris whom I pay every month, and all those costs are not borne by the tenant. They are borne by me, the landlord. So when you're renting, there are certain costs you don't pay. My tenants don't pay the property taxes. I pay URA every year 4 times. I pay Chira Municipal Council the property rates, and those rates are paid by me. So you don't meet those expenses if you are renting. Now, renting helps you to make sure that by avoiding these expenses, you use the money instead to invest in other things. Actually, you can even use that very money to invest in real estate yourself. The beauty of renting, the other beauty of renting is that renting helps you to use what you need. Many times when you're renting, you will only rent a property which has enough rooms that you need. If you have a family maybe of 4, you, your spouse, and then 2 kids, you may find yourself renting a 3-bedroom house. The 3-bedroom house will have 1 room for the kids, 1 room for yourselves, and 1 room for maybe for the maid or for visitors or something like that. Now, but many times, if you are to build a home, you build a 4-bedroom house or a 5-bedroom house. Yet, if you are renting, you rent a 3-bedroom house. So that means that whenever we build homes, we spend on assets which you don't really need. Or sometimes we spend on assets which we need in the short term, but won't need in the medium to long term. I'm currently building my home. I'm 44 years old, and it's now that I'm building my home. Yet I have tenants. I've had tenants since 2010. I've had tenants, and I'm building my home now. But one dilemma I have is I have kids. I have 3 kids, and one of the kids is making 18 this year and is about to leave. So do I have to build a room in my home? Should there be a room for him? I said no. I'm not building a room for this boy who is leaving in a few years. And I have a feeling that the boy has the same mentality as the dad, myself, because I didn't like staying at home after university. I didn't even step a foot in my parents' home after uni. So that means that if he has the same mentality, then he will never step in his room. So if I finish my home in next year maybe, or in 2 years' time, and this chap stays in the home for 2 more years, why should I build a room for him where he's going to stay for only 2 years? Why should I waste the wealth, that equity, be putting it in one room, one bedroom? So actually, I'm building my home for only the other 2 kids who may stay in the home for a longer period of time. And I'm building another separate house, which is like a guest wing. And that guest wing, my son will be staying there temporarily for those few years when he'll be with us. Then afterwards, when he's gone, I'm going to be renting it out for bed and break, for Airbnb or anything like that. Because it's not a prudent financial decision for anyone in the working class or in the lower middle class to tie up capital in something which is not benefiting you, and which capital would have used to invest elsewhere. Many of us here, especially in Uganda, you have a habit of building grand homes which you don't need, and then many times later on we regret why we build those homes. Many of us built. I grew up in an 8-bedroom home, but I remember my dad talking to me in his later years, well, in his 70s. Actually, it was in the late 60s. My dad told me that I made a mistake to build such a home, an 8-bedroom home. Why? Because at that time, when he was talking to me, he was staying there with his wife, my stepmother. He was staying there with my stepmother in an 8-bedroom house, and they're only using 3 bedrooms out of the 8 bedrooms. The house has 8 bedrooms, 2 sitting rooms, 2 dining rooms, 2 kitchens, and then it has boys' quarters. 4 rooms, boys' quarters, and it has a Shamba boys' room. So when you add the other 4 rooms plus the 8 bedrooms plus the Shamba boys' room, I don't know how many are those. 5 plus 8 is 13 bedrooms. And then at that time, when my dad talked to me about that mistake, he was staying in the home. He had a Shamba boy. My stepmom was staying there, and then there were some bazuku, some grandkids who were staying in another room. So only 4 bedrooms out of the 15 bedrooms were being used. That's the dilemma, or that's the unfortunate scenario we're in Uganda. Even up to today, you find young men building grand homes, 5-bedroom homes, 6-bedroom homes. And nowadays we no longer have even so many kids. We have 3, 4 kids. You have a 5-bedroom house. You have a girl's bedroom. You have a boy's bedroom. Those are 2, and then you have your bedroom. Then you have 2 others. Then you will have then you'll be attracting people to come and live in that house. And then when you attract people to live in that house, as I said earlier, you are increasing the costs of running your home, because they'll eat, they'll drink, they'll fall sick. You'll be responsible for them. So, in the short term to medium term, it's not good for us to build homes or even to buy homes. Actually, buying homes should be left to the rich. Not even people in the upper middle class shouldn't even be buying homes. Buying homes should be a business of the upper class, people who are wealthy, people who are financially independent. I've used this word financial independence, and let me just qualify it. Financial independence means when you can survive on passive income. Not even surviving, when you can live your dream. When you can live your dream on passive income. Passive income is income which comes to you without you stepping a foot out, without you working, without you raising a finger. That's called passive income. And each one of us should be working towards passive income. So, passive income, people earning passive income should be the people buying homes. But people even in the middle class, in the upper middle class who can afford homes, should build their homes, because they don't have the luxury of spending the extra money which is spent whenever you buy a home. So as you're trying to build our finances, let's get this money, let's save this money which we would have used to to buy homes or to build homes. Let's save this money. Let's invest it in different ventures. Maybe sometime in the future we may have a talk about investment. Where should you invest at what age in your life? Because different times in our lives call for us to make different investment decisions. Someone in their 50s shouldn't make the same investment decision as someone who is in their 20s. You have different energies, you have different risks, you have different things chasing you. So our investment decisions should be quite different depending on our ages and opportunities available to us. But what I'm telling you now is that when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, when you are poor, or when you're in the working class or lower middle class, your aim should be to grow your wealth. And you can't grow your wealth by building a home. A home will become a liability, like Robert Kiyosaki says, because it will drive away money from you. You should put that money in any other form of investment. That money will bring in more profits over the years, and those profits can be used by you to build a home, which is very important. Thank you very much for listening to me.